So you have decided that you want to start an online business, a business as a freelancer, and start making money online. In this video, I will walk you through 4 key steps, 4 key things that you have to consider in order to start a successful freelancing business. Of course, this is not a comprehensive guide, so within each of these steps there actually will be a number of additional considerations and additional procedures, but it is absolutely crucial that first you are aware of these 4 things and you really put some time into thinking and planning and thinking about the following 4 considerations. So of course, the first thing that you have to do, you have to decide on your niche. You have to decide on what kind of knowledge you want to turn into profit, what kind of skills and experiences will earn you money online. And here, before I go into further detail and categorize my advice according to whether you're a student or not, there are several universal principles and things to consider. So the most important thing when deciding on your niche and deciding what kind of expertise you want to share is that you focus on very specific and narrow niche rather than aiming for something very broad. It may be tempting to target this broad, broad niche, broad idea, simply because it may seem that you'll get more clients this way. But also remember that the broader a given category, the broader a given specialization or niche, the more competitive it is, and it's extremely difficult to compete with the established, experts and key players in a given field. It's also not good for your ranking, for your search engine optimization. So there are many reasons why it simply doesn't make any sense, and you don't want to start broad. You don't want to try to achieve too much at once. So here, what I mean in particular is that within each niche, within each field or expertise, there are certain sub-niches, certain categories that are more focused than the whole broad field. So for example, in the academic field, of course, I will be giving lots of examples from this field because simply this is what I do. You don't want to advertise yourself as some kind of a general, let's say, academic advice or academic expert, because it's again not only not good for your search engine optimization, for the way you rank and future searches. It's simply not good for in terms of clarity. It's not good because it's vague. When your future potential clients, customers visit your page, for example, you only have 3 seconds, that's what they said. You have 3 seconds to capture their attention. If within 3 seconds they don't know who you are and what you do, they are likely to leave your page. So if you just advertise yourself again as some kind of an academic expert, it's very broad. What kind of expert? Who exactly are you and who are you targeting? So it needs to be clear. Are you offering proofreading services? Are you offering academic advice to students? Are you teaching them specific skills or presenting skills or conference skills? It's very important that you define it. And this relates not just to academic fields, it relates to graphic design, to web design. As I said in my other video, it's best to say what exactly you specialize in, what kind of graphics, or maybe the graphics for specific purposes. And the same with web design, maybe what language, web development language you're using, or what are you doing, about these websites. Are you improving their SEO, or what is it exactly that you do? So don't worry if your niche is very specific, because in fact it's a very good thing. And if it's broad, the first thing you have to do is think of how to narrow it down. As I say in my other videos, you need to become a champion of this one narrow niche. You have to become a go-to person in that one specific niche or aspect of your niche. This is exactly what I did with my research business. So rather than targeting everybody and advertising myself as a general research specialist or academic specialist, I decided to focus on one particular type of research, which is qualitative research, and also to really focus and highlight my skills in NVivo, which is a specific software for data analysis. So this is what I did, and I decided that I want to become that person that you think of when you're struggling with using that software or you're struggling with qualitative research. So now let's move on to more specific advice regarding choosing your niche. So I'll first explain what you need to do, what you need to consider if you're a student. Then if you're not a student, just somebody with perhaps some work experience, and then again some general advice. So firstly, for students, I say it quite often, but you have to understand that it's not when you're studying a given within a given field, you're doing research within a given field, and you're studying at a given program. This doesn't always mean that this is your niche. This is something you will be earning money on online. So imagine if you're studying, let's say, some aspect of history, you know, history of Rome between 700 and 600 BC. This doesn't mean that the only way for you to make money online is to offer services or, you know, consulting services related to the history of Rome in that period. Of course you can. So again, don't get me wrong, and I know personally know a guy who has a very successful history channel on YouTube. He earns plenty of money at this point, and what he did was focus on history of Poland, and of course he has his own brand, his own, you know, the channel has his own identity and mood. So it's usually about some interesting facts and some uncommon things that you're not likely to find in history books. So as I said, it is still possible, even if the field and the program you're doing at the university may sound like something that there is not that much demand for. You can still, if you really insist and you're really determined and passionate about this, you can probably still try. But otherwise, I would suggest that you think about all the other transferable skills that you gained at the university. So you don't have to be focusing on becoming a champion of this particular area of study that you're studying now, but rather think about all the other skills that you gained at the university. And there are, of course, plenty of these skills. So you have gained plenty of communication skills. You know, you've been talking to other students and supervisors. Maybe you've had some teaching experience. Maybe you are going to conferences. Maybe you are organizing conferences. So just think how many skills all of these activities gave you. So if you have good communication skills, perhaps you want to become a consultant and tutor for communication skills or for presenting skills in particular. So you could become this champion of presenting skills. You could offer lessons and courses online for how to structure your presentations, how to attract the audience's attention, how to make your presentations interesting. So all kinds of things just based on communication skills. You could also broaden this a little bit and still focus on communication skills, but perhaps have, you know, different target different areas. So presenting at conferences, or maybe teaching and acting as a teacher in a class, or maybe dealing with your supervisors. So all of that is based on this single skill that you have, namely communication skills. And hopefully this gives you an idea of what I mean by transferable skills, because of course you're as a student you've developed your writing skills. So again, you have probably think of plenty different services related to writing, so proofreading and editing, but also maybe some kind of advice, academic writing advice, how to structure things, how to write papers, or how to write dissertations, how to write essays, anything that has to do with writing. And again, I personally know a person who focuses on proofreading and editing, and she's developing her business. She's projecting this personality, this identity, as an expert in academic writing, academic proofreading and editing. And to give you my own example, and to use my own example again, I completed a PhD doing a study of Polish migration to Scotland. And of course later on I did not use this particular field as something that I want to earn money doing online, but rather in the process of doing my master's and then doing my PhD, I had to conduct studies, I had to understand research methodologies, and I had to learn how to use that software that I mentioned. So when I graduated, when I was doing some work at the university, I was thinking, what is it, what kind of skill I have that people would be willing to pay for or willing to learn. It actually took me a while, and I was thinking about all possible things before I realized that actually I know how to use that data analysis software, so why don't I try to sell this skill? And this is how it started for me. So it started on Udemy with my self-study courses, but I'll get to that in a minute. And the same principles apply to you if you're not a student and if you don't have a degree, because as I said many times before, a degree doesn't guarantee you, doesn't give you anything if you don't use your skills well, skillfully. So just think about your previous experiences, your work experiences. You may have had many different experiences, you may have worked in completely different places, unrelated places, but surely there are things that you learned there. Again, if you work, for example, in a warehouse packing some, packing meat or packing pencils, this may not be, this skill probably is not going to give you money as such, so you're not going to be a freelancer specializing in meat packing, but I'm sure you have learned some other things in the process, and it's very important to think about things that you have learned. And again, this may have to do with some management skills. It really depends on your position. It may have to do with management, it may have to do with communication, with some kind of operations within a company. So again, there are so many possible things that you may have learned there. Of course, the very activity you were involved in may also be something that may actually give you result in you earning money on that particular field or that particular niche. If you are a chef, for example, then think about all possible opportunities related to being a chef. You have all these YouTube personalities, you have all these YouTube chefs, you have chefs selling self-study courses on Udemy about about cooking. And here again, remember the first principle, the first advice: try to be narrow. So even if you are a chef, you probably want to focus on a particular cuisine or particular type of menus, type of food. So maybe gluten-free recipes, or some kind of a healthy eating, or Thai cuisine or Spanish cuisine, or something specific, or desserts. So even within that, you probably want to narrow this down. And then finally, you may be a student, you may not be a student, but in either case, you may simply not be able to think of a skill that you really gained, that you want to use as something you specialize in. Maybe it's just not relevant. Maybe the types of jobs you did are really not relevant, and there is really nothing you can not a single aspect or skill from that work that you can think of, that you can be using online. So even in that case, that's okay, because sometimes there is just something that you have developed as a passion, as a hobby, not necessarily related to that position and that job that you were doing, or to your program at the university. Maybe there is something completely different. Maybe you like to write as a hobby, maybe you have been self-publishing. So think about that, think about your hobbies. So maybe camping, maybe some survival skills. Again, whatever it is that you really like, because that's another advice. You have to be passionate about what you want to be selling, what you want to be earning money online. And you really have to be involved in that, because otherwise it will become boring. You'll burn out very, very quickly. So think about your hobbies and passions, and at the same time, do not underestimate the power of learning, constant learning. So you may, in fact, educate yourself to become this person that you want to become, this this personality, this champion. So it's never too late to educate yourself, to use YouTube videos and Udemy courses and blog articles and books to simply become that person. Maybe there is something you really wanted to do, and now is the time to to educate yourself in that field. And I'm constantly doing that as I'm posting my materials on YouTube for my qualitative research channel. I'm reading books, I'm reading articles, I'm learning new things all the time. So of course my learning will never stop. It's not that I learned all these things and I'll be recording YouTube videos forever, because simply I would run out of material. So I constantly do some learning, and I advise that you do the same. So now the second advice, the second consideration that I mentioned before, the second step, I have been mentioning these different platforms, Udemy, and I'm earning money on Upwork predominantly, but I'm also selling courses on Udemy. So it's very important that you decide also quite early where you want to be, which platforms you want to be using, you want to be targeting. And here you just need to think what type of freelancer you want to be, what kind of skills and knowledge you possess. So do they require face-to-face contact? Do they need to be presented in a live event, or is it something that can be pre-recorded, for example? So if it's something that you can pre-record and then share this knowledge, then it may be worth considering selling online courses, self-study courses, such on Udemy, on Teachable, and other platforms. If the skill that you have requires you to do some work for the client, then of course you'll be thinking about Upwork or other freelancing platforms. And then again, maybe it requires direct contact, so it could be done through Upwork, it could be done through your website. So if you're thinking about some kind of tutoring, some workshops, some live sessions. So just think about what is it that you want to teach and how to teach it. And this does not mean that you have to focus on one of these, because if you can focus on both, if you can both, sell your courses and do some work, some freelancing work on Upwork, that's great, and you should absolutely go for it. And this kind of relates to my third point. So basically, make a stir online. Make some noise about yourself, about your business. You have to let people know. Online internet is such a huge space, and it's great because it gives all of us opportunity, but at the same time it means, of course, that it's extremely competitive. So in order for your potential clients to hear about you, to realize that you even exist, you have to create that stir around yourself. So here, I mean, entering different platforms, different social media platforms, and setting up profiles. So for me, for example, I focus mainly on Facebook and of course on YouTube, but I also have my own website and a couple of other platforms. If you don't feel comfortable on a given platform, just don't go for it. And I did it with Twitter, which I know is a great platform. It's a great place to be reaching out and generally creating that stir that I mentioned, creating that noise. But I guess I don't get it, and I'm just not that good on Twitter. So I was there for a while, and I realized it doesn't make any sense to me to be there, because I don't pay enough attention to it. I'm also on LinkedIn. I still don't know why, but I'm still on LinkedIn. But my main social media platform, for example, is Facebook. So I started, when I created that, started to develop that business, I set up this page on Facebook as a qualitative researcher. And basically what I did, I also created a website. So I started a blog on my website. I obviously shared my blog articles on the Facebook page. I shared these Facebook posts in relevant Facebook groups. So I would join a number of groups about research. I would share my content. And my selling point, I would say, was that I offer free advice in these initial stages. And I don't mean to be doing work, for free. I would never encourage you to do that. This was not some detailed advice. It was just generally people asking me some basic, simple questions through my Facebook page, and I would respond to these questions. I would post these questions and answers on my Facebook wall. So this is how I gained traction, how I gained attention with my Facebook page. This is how I sent people to my website. And on my website, in turn, of course, I had additional information about my services. I had information about my self-study courses. So basically, I used a couple of different platforms, a couple of different online places to make people aware of what I do. So you definitely need to create that noise, and you need to create to draw people's attention to what you want to do. It may not be straight away. It should not be, I would say, aimed at strictly at earning money, because then people will leave. They will never stay on your website. So a very important advice, and I want you to remember that or even write that down, is to always offer some kind of value. So always give some kind of value to your potential clients, to your audience. So if I'd started a Facebook page straight away saying I'm a qualitative researcher and here are the services I offer, of course people would simply not be there. They would not stay on my page. But because I decided to have that blog and later my YouTube channel where I offer plenty of value for free, so basically I'm teaching people about research, I'm explaining complex terms and simple terms, so I offer plenty of free value, and I offer this advice that I mentioned through Facebook Messenger, so I would answer people's questions, so people feel that there is plenty to learn from you, and even if they don't decide to to pay for your services, that's fine, because they are your audience, so they are becoming your loyal audience, and this is definitely somebody that you need, because later on some of these people will be resharing your posts and your generally your these social media platforms. This presence will be growing because people will be sharing, they will be talking about you, they will be recommending you in Facebook discussions, in Facebook groups, or simply to their friends. But in order to do that, as I said, and this is really probably one of the most or the most important advice in this video, you have to offer something for free, some kind of value. And now the final step is simply to start early. And again, I could not stress this enough. You have to start early. Don't worry about not being perfect. Don't worry about not having these skills, recording skills if you want to start a YouTube channel. Don't worry about not knowing that much about blogging. You simply have to start, have to make a start, because in the process when you start you become motivated to learn more and more. You're developing this new routine of being involved in all these new activities, so you definitely have to start early and have to start now. If you look for example at YouTubers, if you look at their first videos, they are not good. They are far from being perfect, far from even being decent. Usually they are really poor quality at the beginning, but this is how they have been gaining popularity. And your first YouTube video, for example, will never give you popularity. It will never even be found in YouTube. So you have to record it anyway. You have to record your second and third and fourth, and on average I think it takes about 70 or 80 up to 100 videos to really gain traction on YouTube. But by the time your videos actually are getting found on YouTube, you already have recorded 80 videos or so, and of course the ones that will be found are the newest ones. So the old ones that you worried about so much, they won't even be found in most cases unless somebody actually scrolls down. So this is just to show you that even these Facebook personalities, these famous YouTubers, they just started early. They started with what they had. They didn't wait to buy the perfect camera and perfect equipment. They just developed that as their channels expanded and developed. And the same relates to anything. Start your Facebook page today. Start it today. You won't have I know this feeling. You may be anxious about being judged, and about people looking at that page and thinking, what is he trying, or what is she trying to tell me or to do, or who does he think he is? But as I said, there won't be that many people who think that, because simply you won't have that following initially. So just start it today. Tomorrow you'll develop the Facebook cover. The day after you'll think about your profile picture, and the day after you'll think about your first blog. So you may have a successful Facebook blog. So having said what I said before about the website, don't feel that you have to have a website. Or you may start a website next month, but start your Facebook page today. So that's one of the most important pieces of advice. Don't wait and just start. One of my main regrets when I developed my qualitative research business was that I had not started earlier, that I had not started in my year one of my PhD, because I would have had so much more time to develop all these skills, and you know, my blog and my YouTube channel and everything would have had three extra years to gain that popularity. So you know, don't wait and just start today. So I hope that you learned something new from this video. In my other videos I will be talking about the specific aspects of each of these steps that I mentioned. So for example, how to develop your profile on that platform, or the other, how to start a blog, how to develop your Facebook page. So if you enjoy this content, consider subscribing to this channel, which is based on my experience of leaving academia and starting my successful freelance business. And this channel is all about turning your knowledge into profit.